Tulip Siddiq has resigned as the Treasury Minister over allegations about her properties being linked to her aunt, Sheikh Hasina, the former Bangladeshi Prime Minister who was ousted in August after an uprising. Tulip Siddiq has resigned as the Treasury Minister after controversy over her links to her aunt's ousted political movement in Bangladesh. In a letter to Keir Starmer, the Hampstead and Highgate MP said that she had not breached the ministerial code. Continuing in her post would be a distraction from the work of the government. What exactly was the link? Well, Tulip Siddiq was living in the same property as Hasina's niece, but it actually gets worse. Tulip Siddiq has sought to distance herself from her aunt, the deposed Bangladeshi PM, Sheikh Hasina, claiming they never spoke about politics. But Sky News can reveal that in a blog written by the now city minister, she boasted about how close they were politically and published photos of them together. In the posts written in late 2008 and 2009, when she was a Labour activist, Ms. Siddiq described campaigning with her aunt in Bangladesh's general election and celebrating her victory. Uh, oh yeah, they weren't that close at all, but they never spoke about politics. So she seemingly lied about how close she was with her aunt, and with that about her politics too. But who exactly is Sheikh Hasina, the former Bangladeshi PM? A Bangladeshi court has recently ordered an arrest warrant for the former prime minister, who fled into India in August after she was ousted by mass protests. But it gets so much worse. So Hasina is wanted by Bangladesh's International Criminal Tribunal for her alleged involvements of crimes against humanity that took place during these demonstrations in which she was ousted, where hundreds were killed, literally hundreds. In some estimates, it's over 1,000. Hasina, who was in charge of Bangladesh for more than 20 years, was seen as an autocrat whose government ruthlessly clamped down on dissent. Sheikh Hasina was at the helm of those who committed massacres, killings, and crimes against humanity in July to August. Yeah, not really that close with her auntie. She's got pictures with her, and her auntie was a evil, autocratic woman who killed civilians. So this was the person that Siddiq was celebrating. Now, I know she's family, but she's family who has been accused of war crimes. And it doesn't really get any better for Siddiq. The flat in London's Hampstead that Tulip Siddiq, the UK city minister, was living in, the UK city minister and ousted Bangladeshi Prime Minister Hasina's niece spent years living in and was bought by an offshore company named in the Panama Papers. And this was connected to two Bangladeshi businessmen. I can't get my words out today, guys. I'm really struggling. This was found by a Sunday Times investigation. The 42-year-old British MP spent several years living in the flat, listing it as her address in 2012 and 2014. And according to the Sunday Times report, Pedrock Ventures, an offshore company registered in the British Virgin Islands, bought the flat for £243,000 in 2000. I'm sure they've made plenty of money since then, seeing as the prices of properties have absolutely skyrocketed. But documents leaked as part of the Panama Papers, remember those, and made available by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, they demonstrate that Pedrock Adventures was funded through a six-figure loan, later written off by a second offshore company, Harberton SA. So that entity had two shareholders, which was Nassim Ali and Masood Ali, two brothers from Bangladesh. They jointly own a company called Shamolima Limited, registered in Dhaka in 1983, which provides logistics and manpower to foreign oil companies operating in the country. So I really can't get my words out today, guys. I am struggling. I think I really should have drank more coffee today. My brain is just not working. So it's not really a good look for Siddiq at all. Now, if Siddiq thinks that simply resigning means it will be all behind her, she's sorely mistaken. Anti-money laundering officials in Bangladesh have demanded bank account details for Tulip Siddiq, the UK anti-corruption minister, in the latest escalation of the inquiries into her family's financial interests. The Bangladeshi Financial Intelligence Unit, which investigates money laundering and suspicious transactions, wrote to the country's main banks on Tuesday, asking them to provide account details for Siddiq and the 7 members of her family. Officials also asked for the bank account details of Siddiq's aunt, Sheikh Hasina, who was deposed as Bangladesh's prime minister last year after widespread protests against her rule. Now, Siddiq's mother, her sister, and her brother were also named in the request, which was seen by The Guardian. It's not looking good for the entire family, and it's not looking good for the anti-corruption minister. And there may also be an actual link to Vladimir Putin as well. Bangladesh's Anti-Corruption Commission has begun an investigation into whether Sadiq, a close ally of the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, helped embezzle billions of pounds as part of a deal for the Russian-funded nuclear power plant. So Sadiq was actually pictured alongside her aunt and the Russian President Vladimir Putin in 2013, but has denied allegations that she helped broker a deal with Moscow to help build the project. A spokesperson for Sadiq said that no evidence is being presented for these allegations. Tulip has not been contacted by anyone on the matter and totally refutes the claims. But it's just not looking good for her, is it? It just keeps stacking up. I know it's a lot of information, but this is a huge story. This isn't just about one individual. Now, Sarah, before we talk about Tulip Sadiq specifically, my question is, how did the Labour Party not only allow somebody like Tulip Sadiq to be in the party, but to become the anti-corruption minister? Like, surely at least most of this must have been known beforehand.
The irony is that she's an anti-corruption minister, and then the allegations against her are all to do with corruption. And I'm like, Tulip, how are you going to get out of this? Like, this is feeling a bit sticky. But then on top of that, it's even Bangladeshi authorities who are um, also trying to have these allegations against her too. So I'm like, how is she going to navigate allegations coming from both sides, British authorities and Bangladeshi authorities? But then what worries me is how it's going to make people view the Labour Party. I think we're already, well, I didn't vote for Labour, so I don't know, I was saying we, but I am kind of siding with the Labour Party in that that they are the ones in governance at the moment. So I'm wanting things to be a lot better than the 14 years of austerity that we faced. Um, but we are under a microscope, essentially. So it's any wrong move and it's going to look incredibly bad for Starmer. So I don't know how it's going to look long term for Starmer and his decision making, his short sightedness, I think, when it comes to Tulip's past. Yeah, it's looking sticky.
Very sticky. It's just interesting how, we have so much information out there that's available, and the reporters from the Times and Sky News, they can so quickly find out all this information. And again, yeah, that's what they're paid for. That's what their industry is absolutely built on. But I just don't understand how the Labour Party don't have processes in place which are better at finding these people. Like, fine, maybe somebody can sneak in as an MP with a dodgy past, but then to even get to the level of, it's not a cabinet position, a minister. It's just absolutely wild to me. What's also interesting is that I'll play devil's advocate for a moment. I've got a friend, well, former friend. It was my friend's ex-girlfriend. She came from a very rich family, and she had like a fancy apartment in Leeds city centre when I used to live there. And she was like, "Yeah, but it's in my dad's name. It's like in another family member's name. Like, is it? I'm not saying like they've done anything wrong, but the point that I'm going to get at is that, like, yeah, maybe her dad's put it in that name and done something with it, which could maybe be illegal. I'm not saying it is. The point that I'm trying to make is that, did my friend's girlfriend know that by living in that apartment that she might be a part of something that could be illegal? And the same could be said for Tulip. She comes from a very rich family, and if somebody's just going to say to her, like someone in her family, "Oh yeah, you can live in this flat, or we can, pass this property to you in this way," like, it is possible she didn't know that it might be attached to corruption or money laundering or anything like that. I want to give her that benefit of the doubt, because I do know people who do dodgy things and put things in different people's names without actually knowing it's complicit. I've got another friend who was like, their mother wanted to like do this dodgy thing with the will and like move some things around, and I was just like, make sure you check that out first before they go ahead and do that. It could be, a bit dodgy. It's very possible, but even still, the fact that this may haunt Labour for a while now. I don't know. Will it? A lot of people are saying, like, will we care about this in 2 or 3 years? I don't know, because we don't know what could happen in 2 or 3 years. We could have a moment where she's been fully investigated in 2 years. And I don't know, maybe the Bangladeshi government are trying to extradite the former anti corruption minister for the Labour Party. It could be more ammo to be used against Labour further down the line, but they just seem to be tripping up themselves. Who knows what other skeletons are in the closet for the rest of them?
They are making their own mistakes, but I feel like this is a country that knows how to hold grudges against certain parties. So is this something that they'll let go of? Quite possibly, because something bigger will probably happen this year or in the years to come that will be you know, garnering so much more attention than Tulip. But what's interesting is her extensive history when it comes to the organizations that she's been associated with, things like Save the Children or Amnesty International. Like, she has a great reputation. So when she has something like this attached to her name, will it tarnish her? I don't know, because there have been plenty of politicians who arguably could have not been in politics anymore for the things that they've said and done, but have still managed to make quite a success. Farage being one of them, Boris Johnson making it into 10 Downing Street, and he's had a very problematic history. So yeah, I don't know what the future holds for Tulip, but I guess
I was just going to say, though, very quickly, like, another thing that frustrates me about the story is that if you remember Keir Starmer's rhetoric when he was running for during the election, I can't remember the exact phrasing that he used. Maybe someone in the comments can remind me, but it was along the lines of everybody's got one chance and that's it, you're out, essentially, talking about his cabinet. Anything comes up, it looks dodgy, you're gone. I can't remember what the exact phrasing was, but so far we've seen that Louise Hay came in and she claims, and other people claim, that they knew that about her previous conviction from over 10 years ago. Many people stipulate that Morgan McSweeney, the shadow prime minister, as some people like to call him, is the one who ultimately leaked the story and ousted her. But again, that's speculation. We know that Sue Gray was in a civil war with Morgan McSweeney, and ultimately he won because somebody was leaking stories about Sue Gray, which ultimately ended up in her leaving and Morgan McSweeney taking her place. We have no evidence that Morgan McSweeney is behind this, because I don't think he has anything to do with the investigation coming out of Bangladesh. But the point I'm trying to make is that so far it's been such a mess. Will we care about this in a few years? We had we had scandals at the beginning of Tony Blair's government in 97 and 98. People don't remember those people now. Nobody can name any of them. I can't remember them. I just know that they happened. But it seems that the Labour Party have obviously got a problem, because they might have other people in their team, in their cabinet, who have got skeletons waiting to come out, which could eventually either topple the government, take confidence that's out of the market. We've got people speculating that Rachel Reeves won't be in charge any longer of the finances of the country, but they've said that she's going to be here until the next election. But of course they're going to say that. It all just looks very unstable, and I want the country to do well. You said that earlier. They're in power. We want them to succeed for the country, because all I can think about is how Reform, all the Conservatives, might get in power in 4 years based off of the mess that they're making, essentially.
I completely agree, and actually, this is something that could be absolutely weaponized to assert a political agenda by rival parties. But what's interesting about the comment that you'd said that Starmer had made, where it was like a one chance and you're out type thing, I don't think will be the case. But I think I'm gonna choose my words carefully here, because when she had handed in her resignation, he had said, well, I want to be clear that the door remains open for you going forward. So it's like, is there a possibility that she'll be able to venture back into her ministerial duties going forward? Or will they actually be able to mandate accountability in the party, so that this is like we do not tolerate this sort of behaviour, this is not going to happen going forward, you can trust us. So I think it's just having to keep them under just a close eye on the Labour Party to see how they're going to go forward with this. But it is interesting you mentioned Rachel Reeves as well, because I think now they've kind of backed off a little bit, given that there's been 0.1% of growth, and they're like, oh, like there's something good happening slightly, so we'll see how things go. But again, I think we'll have to wait and see.
Support independent media, support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.